lots of blood and gore. 5, 6, Freddy's goofy tricks. 7, 8, another deadly fate. 9, 10, never podcast again.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yes.
My name is Micah McCaw,
My name is Jordan McCaw.
and we are discussing a rather serious matter. 2 hellion creatures have come to our realm to get us. One Frederick Krueger and another Jason Voorhees.
Whoops.
And they need to be stopped. And how are they going to be stopped? I guess we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
And so we thought we needed to bring in the experts. We had to go, you know what? Screw it. We can't do this anymore on our own. We got to have the boys in blue, but not cops. They're not cops. I'm just improvising here. I don't know.
It's our logo is blue, so hey.
Yeah,
it's-
true.
There we go. Yes,
accurate.
the boys in blue. Not 89, not 91. Well, kind of 89 because it's 90 under 90. We got Dan and Jeremy Eden here today with us.
Dan's
Hey.
waving for the people listening.
And that's the energy we're getting straight off. So you know this is going to be a good episode.
Well, this is coming full circle because we were on 90 under 90 for Jason Goes to Hell,
yes.
which has a little Freddy Easter egg at the end.
Right.
Mhm. Which does, I forgot. I mean, lead itself like the movie does allow that to
connects.
lead itself right into this movie, you know. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
to give it some credit at the top.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, we've talked about a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street movies. We talked about last week. We talked about Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which happened to be not only my favorite Nightmare movie, but hopped right in my top 5 horror movies. Just loved every second of it, and the come down from that to Freddy versus Jason was like a splash of cold water on my face in the morning. It's a hard
hard
reality.
crash, man.
Of cold water from Crystal Lake.
Ah, thank you. But yes, we guested on Jason Goes to Hell a few months ago. So if you want the part 1 of this episode, you got to go listen to 90 under 90. And then now we're on part 2.
And we recorded that a little bit ago at this point, and this is now the second movie Mike and I have seen that has Jason in it. Which means when we saw Jason Goes to Hell, we did not complete that journey.
They had no context.
No.
I have the context from the questions that the killer asks at the beginning of Scream. So I know in the
Right.
first movie it's not Jason, it's his mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the extent. But can you guys tell us your experience with this movie? Because you're a little bit older, so you would have tracked this more clearly, I'm sure.
We were there. We were there opening weekend
That's right.
in the theater. Dan was, I believe, not yet old enough to.
That's right.
Dan was just under 17 or something like that. I don't.
Let's see. This was 2003, right?
Yeah.
I was 15.
Yeah. So you were not yet allowed to be in the theater without a proper
Wow.
guardian. I remember buying the tickets, giving it to him. We got into it. There were not lots, but there were a couple times throughout the movie, ushers walking up and down, checking to make sure. And I did see a couple people get kicked out of the theater.
Whoa.
So because they were just like, no, sorry, you're not old enough to be in here.
Man,
You
that's
clearly.
never happened to me.
I've never seen
I've never
ushers
experienced
in the
that in a movie.
It was weird because it was probably the only time I've ever experienced that, to be honest with you. But then I never really was a horror guy, so I wouldn't this is one of the only few that I've ever really seen in the theater.
Yeah.
Didn't our uncle come with us just to make sure we got in okay, and then he left through the front exit of the
Yes.
theater as soon as the movie started?
Now that you say that, yes, he did bail. I forgot all about that because they wouldn't have let you in. You wouldn't have been. You would not have passed for older than 15 at the time.
And you're not my parent or guardian, or I don't
No.
even know if it matters, but like this was an essential viewing at the time, you know, like this was a huge crossover. This is before the Avengers. Like this was it for us, you know.
This was the one that was, you know, aside from Batman versus Superman, which oddly enough I was on for your show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's right.
This was the other showdown that was talked about in like amongst friends in school. You know, it was Batman versus Superman, who would win? Freddy versus Jason, who would win?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I just remembered this, just going back to the
weird.
rated R thing.
Yeah.
Micah has a funny story where he saw a rated R movie with his sister, and he felt and he was not old enough.
Yeah,
and
it was Step Brothers.
He felt so guilty that he told his parents.
I did. and she
you know
like,
what? Sweet Micah.
Innocent Micah.
You know what it was?
Sweet,
I remember
showing his true colors again. His true pastel colors again.
I just remember going to see that and I was laughing like the whole movie. I was just like, this is so funny. But when the ball sack came out, I was like
I got fired from Blockbuster the day I saw Step Brothers. So I was like, this will cheer me up. And I went with my ex's sister. It was a weird day. And it didn't ruin the movie for me, though. I loved it in the theater. And in Freddy v. Jason, I call it Freddy v. Jason, you know.
Batman v. Superman. Yeah.
Dawn of Darkness.
Yeah. This kicked off the Dark Universe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, I mean, let's just be facetious here. Does Kevin Feige sit down in 2003? He's working on the X-Men movies, producing and stuff, but in a lower status. And he's like, if they could do it, we have a built-in universe. Can we do it? Is that possible? That goes through his mind.
I think if anything, he's sitting there. He's lifting his cap a little bit,
baseball cap.
scratching his forehead, and he's going, I know how to do that better.
Yeah.
That's probably
he just instinctively knew I know how to do this better.
Yeah. That happened.
So what did you guys feel when you saw this movie on the first time?
Joy, exhilaration.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like, I don't want to overemphasize it, but like there was an element of this is an event. It felt like that, especially because, you know, for me in particular, because I was 17, so I was like, this is like the first, like one of the first few R-rated movies I can get into by myself, and like it's worth it for it to be an R-rated movie to get into, you know, like it just and it was the crossover that it was just like, oh God, like, you know, we've all been talking about this movie there's no way this movie could fail.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it certainly didn't fail at the box office.
No, it did all right.
This thing was a huge hit. Oh man, it's. I mean, what do you think about it now?
Now I still watch it and I go, you know what? Like I still have kind of the fond memories of being there and of how important it was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Again, not to overemphasize. I don't want to I use the word important very lightly in this sentence. So like, but yeah, like now I'm just like, at a certain point, it doesn't even feel like a horror movie anymore. It just feels like an action movie. Like the whole third act does not feel like a horror movie. It's just it's two dudes punching each other. It's, you know, it's the ending of any Marvel movie now, basically. So it did feel like this isn't fully what I want. But there's elements of, like, I was watching some of the dream sequences and I was like, no, this still feels kind of like a nightmare. You know, it feels better than some nightmare movies, you know, in certain ways.
Yeah.
And I've never really been a particular Jason fan.
Did you think this was worse than whatever that one was?
This one is far and away my least favorite.
Wait, but what was that other one? Freddy's Dead?
Freddy's Dead.
That movie sucked.
Yeah, it did. And I won't deny that.
But like isolating the nightmare, like the presentation of a nightmare, of a dream in the movie, I think this movie executes it better than some of the previous nightmare movies. Like certain elements of just being in a dream. You know, like, you know, as as CGI crap as it looks, like the footprints that were like disappearing in the hallway. I was like, oh, this is kind of like a cool moment there. Like, I don't know, there's just like stuff like that sticks out to me that felt like, oh, this still works for me. But I do recognize that there's still a lot of nostalgia play in this for me. Like that's the only thing that's getting this a passing grade for me now is nostalgia.
Sure.
And again, I didn't give a crap about. I don't give a shit about Jason. Like Freddy was my guy. Like he has become your guy. I've been listening.
Someday you guys,
Freddy's great.
You're gonna dip your toes in the Bond pool, right? The James Bond pool.
Well,
have you done that? Have you done any episodes?
We've talked about it.
We've talked about it, and because of my obsession with certain things about this podcast, I feel as though we couldn't do James Bond unless we start with Dr. No and go all the way through James Bond. Yep. And so,
but I think you got to do it by actors, like break it up.
Yeah, but I've always imagined that we could maybe have a secondary podcast on Patreon at some point when we have more patrons, where Jordan is not burdened with having to watch all of the James Bond movies.
That sounds pretty sweet too.
So like your Pixar, but like once you get through that, you're like, all right, let's move on to Bond. Jordan, you can take a break.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want to watch them or anything. I think I would have fun, but
I just don't want to force you to do this weird obsession when you have said many times, like, let's just do the Daniel Craig ones. And I'm like, but can we understand Bond without the other 5 or 6 guys?
I will put this on the record. I if there was a way we could do it where we could break it up, I would do it.
Okay. You hear that, fans?
I mean, just logistically, when you think about it, you're looking at like half a year if you do it like straight through. So you kind of like would want to break it up, I would think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your show becomes a James Bond podcast for an extended period of time.
I would lose my mind.
But you brought that up for a reason.
That's true. This is as a Bond fan, I love them all, and some of them are crazy. And this, for me, Freddy versus Jason, same as the nightmares. Like I can take the serious ones, and this one, this is like dying. This is Die Another Day. That's all it is in the Nightmare series. I love them all. I can love this movie. I can love New Nightmare. So I still enjoy this one quite a bit. I think it's entertaining. I think it's got some problems, but I think it's got Jay, but not Silent Bob, which is a real problem here in this movie. If you're gonna, that's like, where's Silent Bob?
You got this Jack Black knockoff type of guy. So it's like you're using these elements of what I imagine are parts of the 16 other scripts that existed in this movie.
True.
But
this movie's really dumb and fun, and it was a hit. So why didn't they make a sequel? Do we know why?
Well, I know that they attempted to. They were playing around with the idea of doing Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, which would be the Evil Dead crossover, where Ash then kills them both or something to that effect. Which actually, I feel like that could work, and be a good movie potentially because of the wackiness. But it just never came to fruition, as it seems, this project, which we'll talk about, is just like, I mean, they started talking about this in 1987 and it comes out in 2003. So it's like, I think it was a rights thing.
Today, it had to, because they didn't have the mentality that today, because today they greenlight 2 sequels before the first one even comes out. It just seems like a no-brainer here, But
and that's what's confusing me on Nightmare on Elm Street is, Wes Craven has died. There's a new Scream movie that's a hit. And we're still sitting here, and it's been 12 years since they have made a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And that seems so strange to me because of the pure imagination. As long as you have new creators that have fresh ideas, you could make 20 more, and probably like 14 of them would be really good.
Mm-hmm. I think what they need, the part of the problem is Robert Englund is still alive, and like you can't. It's almost like the the Indiana Jones thing. Like
Yeah.
you just
Well-
you just can't see anybody else doing that role while the other guy's at least alive still, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could do a young version, that'd be one thing. Like if you want to do like a Freddy prequel, I don't know why, but like they could have done that and it wouldn't have interfered, but it's hard to see somebody else do it. We did see it and we all were like, no, thank you. I don't like what you're doing with that. So but I do think it's possible, and I think that I agree that it should happen. I think that a new actor, a younger actor, needs to take on the role, do like literally just do it as a legacy, you know, like the way that like, you know, voice actors pass down roles. Like I'm getting too old for this. Somebody else needs to do it. You're caked in makeup anyway, so
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
doesn't matter as long as somebody is kind of getting as close as they can, and then they can add their own flavor to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we're being deprived of some good Freddy. 12 years is too long. And if they're greenlighting a Crystal Lake prequel series,
They are.
they just did. And I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, I think Friday the 13th is also a property that they should just make like 40 all the time, because like that's just how it goes. I mean, he's been to space. Just keep making the movies. Who cares?
Agreed. Yeah.
So make a prequel series, great. But where's the Freddy prequel series? It's driving me nuts. I want more. Even though we've watched 8 of these, I want more.
I think they're still handling it delicately, because while we were talking, I just Googled why hasn't there been a new Nightmare, and the first answer that comes up is since Wes Craven's passing in 2015, it would be the first Nightmare movie since he died. I think people are like, ooh, like how are we gonna? But Scream, I guess, is their like fair game, bros.
Totally.
Yeah.
It
Like you
doesn't make
said.
it doesn't make sense because they were not precious about it being Wes Craven's baby before. So like
Oh,
why,
yeah, right.
you know, like why
Yeah.
now are we suddenly like,
Who knows?
you know, because and it would be one thing if it was just like he did Nightmare on Elm Street and then like all the sequels and then came back for New Nightmare and that was it. But no, we
That would
got
be
Freddy
so
versus
different.
Jason.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, the character still did another mediocre, as some would say, you know, take in chapter in the character's legacy. But like, why not let? I don't know. Why not? I'm in agreement with you. Why not just let it keep happening?
Yeah.
Did you
or
guys
even like
know?
make a cartoon one or something. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
If you-
cartoon Freddy.
I mean, the stop motion in the Never Sleep Again movie is awesome. Make a stop
Oh,
motion
yeah.
Freddy Krueger movie. Let's go.
Okay.
Give Robert
Right
Englund
on.
the voice. Whatever.
It's yeah. It's like you could put so much. Like the problem I think now would be that a lot of the movies would probably lose their charm because they would be done with CG. Everything
Yeah.
was practical, you know, with all of these movies up to and including most of this one, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that's a big part of it too, is if you can find a way to force people to make it, you know, like true and practical, like the way that they treated Force Awakens, when they were like, no, we're not gonna rely on the CG anymore.
Yeah.
Like if they're just like, no, we're gonna do as many practical nightmare sequences as possible and get the most creative minds in there. Hell yeah, absolutely, keep it going. Do an anthology series. You know, like why not? Just keep it going.
I'd love that.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about the future, are we?
I think Dan had something to say.
Oh, Dan, are
Oh,
you
yeah,
holding
yeah.
on to something?
Oh, I got something in the back pocket. Did you guys know? Did you guys know Freddy's middle name is Charles?
No, I did not.
No.
Frederick Charles Krueger.
That works.
Did you guys know Jason's middle name was Alexander
Okay.
Jason Alexander,
Voorhees?
like Seinfeld.
Oh shit! Yeah, Jason Alexander.
It's not even his real name.
Oh, is
It's
it
a
not?
stage
I
name,
didn't know.
and that's
I didn't know that.
a lot of
No,
people don't know
he's-
that Jason Voorhees is a stage name also for the character. So there's
Yeah,
that.
his name is Jerry Seinfeld Voorhees. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had it changed because of the famous
I can't.
comedian.
I can't.
So here's a question I want to throw to the room before we really get started here. I have only seen 2 movies that have Jason Voorhees, so I have a very warped perception of Jason. But my question is this: is Jason lame?
I think most would argue no. It really comes like when it comes to slashers, like the big one-on-one is Michael Myers versus Jason, and Jason's body count, I believe, is like much higher than all the others. So I think people, when it comes to horror hounds, they love the people who could produce the most bodies, So I think Jason has to get some kind of award for that, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I don't know what they're doing because Halloween was not a property that I ever followed, so I don't know especially what they're doing with these new movies. But I think one of the reasons why you can say that Jason is lame maybe is the fact that his motivation feels like the flimsiest at a certain point.
Yeah,
where you're just like, why are you just killing everybody?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hear
Freddy is just like inherently interesting because he's like a dream demon, he's haunting people's dreams, and that's just an interesting concept by itself. Michael Myers, I've never found him to be that interesting because I always found Michael Myers to be very boring, but I'm now that's also coming from a guy who has not watched Halloween as an adult who can appreciate it now. Sure. So my only memory is as a teenager, and I was like, these are boring movies. I don't care. I'm not interested in this character. But that's why I think Jason won over Michael Myers for me. Is also a hockey mask is just interesting than that white generic mask, in my opinion. It's just more iconic.
Like the exact opposite with the Michael Myers.
I'm with Mike on this.
I probably will be that way when Dan when we Halloween is on your.
Yeah, we're watching the original Halloween probably next October for our 90 over 90 on Patreon.
So yeah, when I am forced to watch that again, as an adult, I will probably appreciate it way more.
Yeah, I mean the first is great. I mean, no question there.
Kill count. Jason Voorhees has between 157 and 170. Michael Myers has 92. So that's almost double Jason Voorhees. That's worth something. If you're a horror fan, worth their salt at all,
Yeah.
And it's also, because he's one of the OG, not OG, I guess you would call the Universal monsters, the OG crew, but because he's been around for so long, he just gets legendary status. So it doesn't matter if he was ever any good. He was just there early, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he is for me, just because I don't really know anything. But it's that's a me problem. That's not a Jason problem.
He's not my favorite. I like Michael a lot more. But
it's anybody
would respect the body count. That's all I would
be because anybody would be like, oh, Jason, I don't know, I'm not into your movies, but respect. I gotta throw it to you, man. You're Jason. You're Jason, man. I get it. Go ahead, chop me up. Do what you gotta do. You're Jason.
Yeah,
it's an honor to be one of the 180.
Sure. They all have that plaque at Crystal Lake, right? They're working on that memorial.
Yeah,
really nice glass with the lights on it and all
that. They're gonna make giant statues of all of them. And it's just gonna be this. You ever see that those abandoned presidents sculptures that are in that field somewhere that are just no one knows how they got there? It's gonna be these random
No, I don't know about that.
Weird.
There's these. I don't remember where it is, but no, literally there's these giant there's this field of sculptures of every former U.S. president. It's a giant bust of all of them.
Jimmy Carter and George H.W. Bush.
It's this field of look up random
Ronnie Reagan.
Yes, every former U.S. president has some giant statue in this field, and people are I don't exactly know how it got here or why, but it's just they're all here.
Interesting.
What about
Croker, Virginia? The 18 to 20 foot ghostly effigies of past U.S. presidents' heads have found a home, crowded together in the tall grass, weighing up to 20,000 pounds. Wait. These shoulder busts are a staunch reminder that dreams, no matter how big they are, can get lost without care.
What about
That's the reminder?
Barack Obama.
Yeah, is he in there?
Huh?
You're just showing off right now.
You're doing impression. For a little bit there, I was like, is he just trying to show off how many presidents he could remember? Like,
And he only remembers 4 of them?
What about Grover Cleveland? That's how he talked.
That's
Yep.
true. That is
I'm
true.
Grover Cleveland. He always curled his mustache on both ends.
By the way, I told my dad that we were going to record with you guys. We were at dinner before this. And he was like, oh, yeah, those guys are so funny. And he said, tell them hello.
Aw, that's so nice. Hello.
hey.
Which I thought was funny because I was like, they don't know who you are, Dad.
Hey, Micah's dad.
If they're anything like the way our dad was, he'd be like, they know who I am. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that sounds about par for the course. All right, so let's get into how this movie was made. They basically, like, right off the bat, fans would come up to them at Comic-Cons and stuff and say, hey, could you kill Jason? Kind of as simple as that, according to Robert
Batman
Englund.
and Iron Man situation.
Yeah. And
they were asking like Tom Savini and just like regular, like below the line people, like, could you kill Jason? Who are you? Sorry.
And so they thought, yeah, we could kind of do like a 30s and 40s, like monster mashup movie. That's kind of what they're looking at. Frankenstein meets the werewolf, stuff like that. Which I guess all of franchise filmmaking, we have the universal monsters to thank, is what I'm discovering.
Mm-hmm.
Because they kind of just started everything.
Yeah.
We might have to cover that.
Yeah.
We might have to do that as a series.
I guess you could consider it all just one giant thing. I've only watched one of them.
Everything could be considered one giant thing if you think
true.
about it.
I mean, really, when you break it down, isn't everything kind of one giant thing?
Yeah, when they made that the rider on the horse that was in the Nope trailer, the first film ever.
Yeah.
That was like the first movie. Then they made like so many sequels after that. Because
the
every
Great
movie.
Train Robbery, Steel Magnolias, the Battleship adaptation,
It's all a
of
sequel
those.
to that.
That's
Everything.
right.
But yeah, so this is like, and you guys feel free to jump in here. Like, they were working on scripts for this for so long, and they hired like 16 or 17 writers and would just go through like script after script after script for this. I mean, do you have any notable things on that?
I read a few of them because they were circulating like right before the movie was made. Basically, these writers knew they had no shot at getting them made. They're like, I thought I'm pretty proud of this thing. They leaked it, or the studio, somebody at the studio did. We got our hands on it. I used to trade a lot of scripts when IMDb had a message board.
Oh, yeah.
They got rid of it because of racism and sexism and terrible people.
You just wanted to read unmade scripts.
Exactly.
And everyone else had to ruin it for you.
I got my hands on the Gladiator sequel script. I think I still have it on a drive somewhere.
Really?
Like some really like real fucking like gems I have. I think I have the original Watchmen draft. I have Robert Smigel's Green Lantern that he wrote for Jack Black.
The comedy one? Oh, man.
Yeah. So I had a few of these, and God, I'm trying to remember. Most of them, they would like one of them, of course, a couple of them devolved into a showdown in hell, which is like what everybody wanted and nobody got.
Yeah.
And the other ones was either Camp Crystal Lake or Elm Street. Like we of course we have to do it at the home bases, and that's kind of what we got in this, didn't we?
Yeah. It's odd to me that they didn't go to hell, because there is a movie called Jason Goes to Hell, and he goes to hell at the last second. And then in this movie, I could have sworn that I saw images of them in hell. But you know what? It must have been just the boiler room.
But didn't it
Because
seem
the boiler
like,
room's kind of like reddish.
But like, didn't it seem like, okay, so if I'm getting the concept correct, Freddy was in hell and was like trapped in hell because they killed him in the last movie or whatever, or the movie before that, because Freddy's dead.
That's right.
And he's in hell, and Jason goes to hell, and he's like, wow, you like, I don't know, you can come back to life because Jason never dies and do my bidding. and as you do your bidding, I will gain power through the evil,
Right.
I guess. And then
Mhm.
it seemed like it seemed like he never got out of hell, but it almost like I'm wondering if he got just back into his dream world.
Well, he does.
Or if they just
He
got
gains enough
lost.
power, and then
Well, yeah, he does gain enough
she's
power
able
at some
to
point.
get him into our world.
That's true.
And that's how they're able to have the kung fu fight.
Okay.
Jason does the killing, and Freddy gets blamed for it because he's doing the killing in the Elm Street area, so everyone just assumes that it's Freddy Krueger coming
When does
back.
he come back to life and gain like sentience on Earth again? Is the question.
It's sometime around the rave. Like
That's
that's
right.
when Freddy kind of gains his power back, and
Because he was gonna go after the girl that was in the locker, like hiding in the locker, but Jason got to her first.
yeah. Oh, he was seducing her, and then Jason came in
Yeah.
and just was just like mine, and
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I was working that girl for weeks, man. I took her out so many times. Are you kidding me,
is-
Jason?
One angle
Come
that
on,
they
Jason.
explore that I kind of thought was interesting is that you never see like competing killers. Like, stop snaking my kills, bro. Like,
Sure, yeah.
I don't really think we really got much of that before.
See,
So
that's why I was just thinking about it earlier. Like, how cool would it be to like, and maybe we talked about it in Jason Goes to Hell, but like, how cool would it be to just do the Expendables of 80s horror icons?
oh
And just
yeah,
have it, you
Yeah.
know, Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers and Pinhead and like all of them, Chucky and
Chucky.
Let's do it.
have them all be in there. But the problem is like they would all just end up like fighting and killing trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
And it would
Yeah.
just be immediately be like, well, that's all that it can be. They'd all be pissed off at each other for trying to
Right.
kill each
And
other.
kind of the whole thing is like none of them die, so like the movie would never end.
Right. Well, that's the funny thing. Like, inherently, there's just no way to make a satisfying crossover horror movie like this. I mean, maybe there's
I think-
someone out there that has it cracked, but maybe this is the best version that we could have. But I don't know.
To make it legitimate, it's probably pretty hard. I mean, like, unless the stories perfectly align and it just seems like there's like a real natural fit. I don't know, it could be done. But like, if you take a satirical edge to it and like no, we're blowing out all of the series that are involved in here, you know, like I think that'd be the way to do it, is just like, no, we're going like over the top.
Right.
And you said there were like 16, they like got 16 writers. Is that normal?
No.
Because that's too
To
many
go-
cooks.
They went through they went through so many different drafts, and it's
Yeah.
just like they couldn't figure it out. It's just like they hire somebody and it's just like, your script, okay, we paid you, let's move on to the next draft. There's
Yeah.
a book. Did you guys ever reference the book about the Freddy versus Jason?
No.
I think you mentioned it on your episode, Jason Goes
Maybe.
to Hell.
Yeah, there's a book that I literally just added it to
Oh,
like my
yeah.
list. I'm hoping my wife gets it for me for Christmas. I think she will. But Slash of the Titans is like a book about the making of this movie and how it went through so many different iterations because nobody could crack it for the longest time. And then like eventually they just got to a point where they're just like, all right, make it. Like, we figured out enough, I guess.
Yeah,
That sounds interesting.
that is how it
The
feels.
cool, the perfect new element of Jason being afraid of water.
So that's new, because we don't know our Jason.
I mean,
Um,
And is he
Yeah,
also like a disfigured
yeah.
kid as well?
he's always been a disfigured kid,
He was-
that reeked of
but he's
something they made up.
splashed.
But
He's certainly splashed in the water before in those sequels, and he had no
I mean,
problem.
in many of them, yeah, he was like laying in the water and he's just like, oh yeah, I'm alive, I gotta come up. He like would come up out of the water. So like in a few movies he used the water to his advantage. There's no way that he's afraid of it. But like if you have predominantly knowledge of Nightmare on Elm Street movies like you guys have, and very little with the Jason movies, then yeah, your tertiary knowledge would be like, oh yeah, Jason drowned, so of course it makes sense that he would be afraid of
Right.
water.
Yeah.
it
Like,
did make sense. Yeah.
I get the logic behind it. It's just like, that's new. Okay.
Hmm.
Like, but I don't
Sure.
care. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Freddy, and Jason's fine.
The
Well,
best line of this movie
Right.
is Freddy died by fire, Jason by water. How do we use that?
You know, she says that and no one responds. Like, no
No.
one is listening to her.
No.
How do we use that? She
Shut up.
says.
It's like,
Stop talking, main character.
we're talking to Lachlan Monroe right now, who's gonna help us.
Jared, we know the name of the guy who's in Scary Movie and other things. Dead Man on Campus, one of my personal favorites. Lachlan Monroe is in this, ladies and gentlemen.
That's the cop guy.
Yeah.
The young cop. Okay. I recognized him, but I was not able to place him.
You know what's funny about him is that he's playing a character that he's playing a character in earnest that he parodied already in a different movie. You know,
it's kind of funny. Yeah,
really
I wonder
funny.
if Ronnie Yu knew that. He did also did Bride of Chucky, which is also like campy and fun. Like he's like a campy fun horror guy. So I guess if you're a real U head, then you knew this going in.
Well, I did know that he comes from the Hong Kong, like martial arts kind of stuff. And so it makes sense that the ending of this movie is them just kind of like punching each other a bunch. And I'm like, oh,
big
this
Matrix
tracks.
jump of Freddy on the dock, which I actually kind of dig. Like it's on it looks like it's on a big black sound stage. Like it's just like you could tell they just got that shot like separately somewhere else. But I kind of like how epic it looks.
Let me tell you something about that shot. That shot was in every trailer for the movie, and it completely sold the movie. Like, forget everything else that you see. That shot of him coming out of the water like that, and he's like 30 feet
crouching
in the air,
tiger, hidden dragon style.
That was enough. That was enough for me to be like, I'm there.
Yeah.
I don't really particularly care that much about either franchise. I'm there.
Keep in mind, like, I think we were like the perfect demo for this, like 15, 17, and big fans of all these previous movies. So, I think now, if I were to watch it now as a 34-year-old for the first time as like a casual fan, I'd probably go on this movie too.
I would say for me, the movie was holding my interest pretty much from the beginning. I was like, okay, this movie's kind of trash to me. But it's not unwatchable. Like I was still having a good time. But then I think at one point we paused it to take I don't know, bathroom break or something, and there was like 40 minutes left, and we were like, how are we possibly gonna stay awake through the rest of this movie?
Oh, stay awake! You guys got to take that drug that they have in this movie.
Of course.
That makes you not dream.
But you can still sleep.
No, I think he took Wake Aid.
Yeah, Wake Aid was what he was.
What did you guys think of the CG bug devil dog?
Caterpillar?
Yeah.
From like Alice in Wonderland.
That was
It's like I get the idea. I get it.
Yeah.
But gosh, it looks so bad.
And
I
imagine how
not doing it.
Like so my criteria for these movies so far has been, I think several of them are genuinely great movies, but even when they're not great, if they have at least one good kill, I pretty much like the movie. So even like Freddy's Dead, not a good movie. I didn't really like it, but I do think the hearing aid kill was great. And so it's like, well, I'm glad I watched that movie. Sure. And this was the first one where I was like, none of these kills did it for me. The Freddy stuff. They got close with the brother who pops out of the bathtub.
Yeah.
But there just wasn't enough, like, he was, like, Freddy's so creative, and it's just like, just a brother jumping out of the bath and then slashing his face isn't enough for me.
Well,
I agree.
Honestly, Freddy's, his big issue is that he just likes to draw that shit out, man. Like he loves the dance, he loves the tease, and sometimes it bites him in the ass.
His kills usually are like can be characterized usually by like a certain like a set piece, like the comic book death in like 4 or 5 or the invisible.
And you see a lot
match.
of them in the beginning, yeah. The tendon puppet, the worm,
and in this you don't have that really in this. It's him hanging out in the boiler room and he cuts off a nose casually.
He wants to do that dance, and instead of just like being creative, he's just like, ooh, all right, I'm here. And it's just like, come on, Freddy, come on. He's gonna take. All right, forget it. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
If that caterpillar was a puppet, I think I would be like, this movie kind of rocks. and it's like a 7 out of 10 because there's a ginormous caterpillar a la Alice in Wonderland that's a puppet. Like that kill had the potential for me, but the way it was done was just like oof maron.
Jason's got the and again, I don't really remember a lot of Jason's kills, and I've seen all of the Friday the 13th movies. I know there are some good ones that stand out, but like,
is it a stab that you're thinking of?
it's like, oh no, like I'm talking like he uses a person to beat another person to death in Jason X, like he's grabbing onto like he's got like two girls in like a sleeping bag and he's like beating them like and it's just comically ridiculous. But he's got like the reverse, like the smashing of the bed, like kind of folding
Yeah.
the bed.
Yeah.
That's
Those
kinda
are kind
fun.
of more of like the cool Jason kills of just like swift, like quick. I don't know. At least that's my memory of them.
It's quick, it's savage, and it is like used. I think he's the most creative, oddly, like, but his improv skills are so fast that he'll just like immediately come up with something on the spot.
He's the Robin Williams of serial killers.
He really is.
He
Yeah.
studied at the
His brain is not
Groundlings.
stopping.
Groundlings, IO, you name it, all of them.
Well, so going back to the crazy drafts of this, there was a draft of this, and I think you guys will know, so I'm kind of telling you specifically, where they go in hell, chains wrap around them, and it made it sound like this was going to be like the last shot of the movie, and then Pinhead walks out and he says, "Is there a problem, fellas?"
Yep.
And then it would cut.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I definitely remember reading about that.
And then Bob Shea was like, "No one cares about Pinhead."
I'm Bob Shea.
Throughout the draft.
That's a pretty cool ending. I'm not like, if you were to take a poll, I would say like out of 10 people, how many of you are Hellraiser fans? Like versus like give them a list of like, I know this is really getting convoluted, but like the 10 major franchises, I'm sure like only one of them would choose Hellraiser, if that, it's just not a beloved franchise is what I'm saying. It's a very small audience. It would have been cool though, because Pinhead, if there's one thing they have is creative kills in the Hellraiser movie. Have you guys watched those before?
I've seen the first one a long
not.
time ago.
They're pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Like weird, like bondagey, chainy stuff. Like it could work. It definitely work in hell too. Like that imagery. It could be really cool.
Yeah, hell's a bad place to be, as far as I'm
So
concerned.
I hear it's pretty bad. Like
I hear it's hot too.
And it might freeze over though if something rare occurs.
Yeah.
You gotta watch out for that rare cold front.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so and then speaking about Ronnie, what was his last name?
You.
Yes. So
Netflix is You.
They
Sorry.
really wanted him to direct the movie, and he shows up to the meeting and he says, "I don't care about Freddy or Jason," and they were like, "Perfect, you'll have a fresh perspective."
Huh.
Ugh,
What?
wonderful. Why don't they just give it to somebody like just on the street who's just like, yeah, I like Freddy. Like, okay, like that's better than Ronnie Yu, because he's just like, I don't care. I'm a baby wearing my animal crackers. Like he's just like sounds like such a baby.
It's funny though, because in the documentary, he just is so blasé about it in a way that I kind of made me dig the movie a little bit. The fact that he was like, yeah, I don't care about him, but we got to like blow up stuff. That was fun. And then like we did this scene. That was kind of cool or whatever. I'm kind of like, okay, whatever.
He seems like, yeah, I get what you're saying. He seems like a guy who's just kind of in it for the joy of filmmaking or like the trappings of his favorite movies,
Yeah.
But like, and also he's looking at it from like a macro perspective, whereas a lot of filmmakers are like, no, every I get what you're saying. He did seem that way in that epic, wonderful doc, Never Sleep Again.
Yes. I finally got to log it on Letterboxd today because I finally finished it.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, felt great.
You don't do the stars, do you, Micah? Reviews, do you? You just do the hearts, don't you?
I do the heart and the no heart, and then I do the 5 stars for movies that scratch my itch completely.
Sweet, sweet Micah.
But let's see. For some reason, the studio wanted a new Jason, and they never told Kane Hodder. Is that his name?
Hotter.
Kane Hodder.
Kane Hodder. Why he was not cast as Jason?
Oh, it sucks.
But
Hot or not? Am I right, guys?
yeah,
Apparently
you're
not.
so right.
Hot or not? They're like hot or not, like like.
Oh, I was thinking like
I get it.
hot or
It's-
not.
That's the play on words.
It's
like they're
you know
like
what, Dan, if I may, it would make a much better newspaper headline than a joke out loud.
hot or not. They decide not to cast Kane Hodder in the movies. I'd still
Like, do
want
you
to
have
go
any
for it.
the ability to put spinning newspaper graphics
Yeah,
on
That
your
would-
The
podcast?
sound effect. The sound
that would
effect
work really
be great.
well.
Micah,
What a scoop!
insert that. Could you Dan give me like a transatlantic?
Oh,
say
yeah.
in like the
You want me to
the
just
floor is
read like the
yours.
headline?
read the headline.
Uh,
I'm gonna add the swishing sound.
Okay, can I do the? All right, I'm just gonna do it. Okay. Top story tonight: Kane Hodder, hot or not? They decide not to cast him in the new Freddy v. Jason film, directed by one Ronnie Yu. We'll see how it turns out.
And offering some
Oh, I loved it.
editorialization there at the end. We'll see how it turns out.
I love when they do
You're like a
that in the
great journalist.
newspaper. They do that all the time.
Hot or not? New Line Cinema proceeds.
This Ukrainian Russian business. We'll see how it turns out. I read that in the newspaper just the other week. It was
We'll
really
see.
interesting. We'll see. Hashtag we'll see. Yeah. Mhm.
Let's wrap it up, guys. It's not gonna get better than that.
Is this the end of the episode? Really?
Yeah, we gotta stop it there.
Wow. Okay. All right, guys. See you later.
But I think it was I don't know. It might have been England. I can't remember who said it, but someone was thinking that it was just they wanted someone who was even bigger, so that it was a bigger contrast between the two guys.
Okay.
Ken Kersinger is the actor's name who got to play Jason in this.
Yeah.
Also great in his own right, but Kane Hodder just like there's something. Horror fans are rabid, and especially like when it comes to body count.
Yeah.
But also when it comes to casting. And you know who's killing it right now, pun intended, is the Chucky show by bringing back. We just did Child's Play 2. They brought back the foster sister character and not only did they bring back Andy after all these years, they brought back the foster sister character. Like I don't even think she's acted in anything for like
Whoa.
25 years.
Whoa.
Crazy.
It's like it's so loving.
That was like when the Twin Peaks reunion came. It was like these people haven't worked in 20 years. What are you doing?
Exactly. It's so loving, and the fans, they see that. They always see that. They love it too. Like always. I always see that.
Wow.
I still haven't taken the Chucky dive.
No. Damn.
They're pretty good. They're fun.
I would like to, but every time I mention it, Jordan says I'm not going to watch
I'm
that.
not into the doll thing.
The doll is too much, I guess. Even though I would imagine that it's like hilarious hijinks.
I think for me,
honestly,
it's always. And I've never seen any of it. Maybe. I think I've actually seen like a scene when I was a kid, and maybe that's what's doing it for me. It really scared me. But I think it's like the prudish part of me is like he's so mean though.
he is pretty
but
mean.
you know what? Like we've watched the first two, we've reviewed the first two for our show, and I find it like he's so comically mean that it's just like like you look at him and you hear some of the vile things coming out of his mouth, and it's just like this always works. This is like an old lady saying like swear words, you know? It's just it's always gonna make me laugh.
Is he having as much fun as
easy.
Freddy?
Oh yeah.
He's
Well,
just not as
that-
creative as Freddy. That's the difference, I think.
Yeah.
He's just restrained and he's angry about it, and that really comes out.
Well, that is good to hear.
Maybe one of these days.
Yeah.
You know, you're not missing anything. You don't have to.
But yeah, I mean there's more stuff about this movie, but I do
So you
think
said it
we
made
hit.
a lot of money.
Yes. So the movie was a $30 million budget. It made 82 domestic and 114 worldwide. The music is by Graham Revell, who did Child's Play 2 and Bride of Chucky. so there's some connection there. The cinematography is by Fred Murphy, who did, of course, the Robin Williams movie RV, and of course the Owen Wilson starring Drillbit Taylor. And then
God. Great double feature right there.
and it's written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift, who did the 2000 and man, I usually do this on my phone. One of the late 2009 Friday the 13th movies. Yeah.
With Jared Padalecki.
The remake.
Yeah. The remake.
There was a reboot morphed into remake.
Remake. Do you guys know that you guys see Transformers? You've done Transformers.
We've not done it.
No, we have not done it.
We've avoided it, but we've seen it.
That's understandable. There's do you remember the bully in the first one who's Megan Fox's boyfriend? The blonde guy?
I don't
remember. No, I don't.
She's like, I could drive your truck. He's like, what, with these 22s? I don't want you grinding them, honey. Why don't you, why don't my little kitten sit in the front seat? Like, he's such a dick. But here's the thing. Since Michael Bay did that and he produced Friday the 13th, that same character is in Friday the 13th. So That's right. Shares a universe, speaking of crossovers, with Transformers. I don't like... Isn't that mind-blowing?
Really
that Optimus Prime could just come through Crystal Lake at any time in the Bayverse?
Slice Optimus Prime's Achilles heel or whatever version he has, made of cables and tubing.
It'd be great if he did have an Achilles heel. Anyway, I digress. I just thought that's probably the most interesting shit you're going to get in this whole episode. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
From us, anyway.
Yes.
My last notes are just that it comes out August 15th, 2003. And then where did I put it? Man, I'm not doing paper ever again. This sucks.
Why did you do it on paper?
I'll tell you about it later.
It's a very deep, dark secret. It's embarrassing.
But basically, so New Nightmare comes out in 94. They had made Jason Goes to Hell in 93. But it's like, oh, Wes Craven wants to come back and do Nightmare. Okay, we got to push off this thing. We've been going back and forth trying to get a deal with, I think at the time it was Paramount, and then eventually it becomes another company that owns Friday the 13th. And then they make Jason X, which sat on the shelf for 2 years, and then they made this movie. Because I think Jason X came out after this movie, but it had been filmed before, I believe.
No, Jason X actually came out before this movie because part of it was like, in my memory of it at least, because a part of it was just like, well, wait a minute, like Jason is in the future. Like I remember that being part of the chatter of like, how can Jason go back in time? Like, how are they going to let him come out, come back alive before he's 100 whatever.
Jason X came out in 2001. Let me just say it.
So yeah, I remember that being part of the chatter, and then me being like, who the hell cares? Like he comes back to life all the time. What does it matter?
Yeah.
He can come back to life and die again. Not a problem.
That's the thing.
That's what he does.
It's just crazy to put into context that they wanted to do this so bad. Then Wes reclaims the franchise, puts this perfect like ending on a series that it shouldn't be possible to have a satisfying ending. And it's like, it's done. And then they're like, okay, but we're coming back not for a new Freddy story. It's for Jason and Freddy together, which I guess at the time, that would be the most exciting prospect. But boy, it's so stark, the contrast. And when you're watching these movies back to back, it's like, yikes, this feels like a war crime going from one to the other.
Honestly, I'm sitting here trying to think of like what other franchises existed in the 90s that could have crossed over, or even, prior to that. And
when did AVP come out?
What's that? AVP?
Yeah,
that's another one that I'm so blind on Alien and Predator that I'm just like, oh, they go together? That makes sense. And that, okay. I literally have no knowledge of that whole either franchise.
Yeah, that's another. It doesn't really make any sense. But I think that one came out in 2001. I think.
We're gonna look it up.
Yeah, I think
Crazy.
that one's even earlier than this. I mean, that one kind of makes sense because they're both aliens, I guess. But that's the same logic here, is they're both like demons. So
Is
Yeah.
it just called AVP?
Jared.
AVP, yeah.
Did you get mine? Did you hear mine?
There's no AV.
Sorry.
Grumpy Old Men.
Oh,
Oh,
why is
2000.
that a
Oh,
It's a 90s franchise.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That could
Jeremy's
cross
reaction
over.
is just like Dan's like, Jeremy, you're my brother. You're supposed to get it.
Come on, man.
so
Can you imagine Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon going head to head against Freddy and Jason? You putz.
Oh, would you God damn it now, Freddy? Would you get coffee, please?
It's great.
Okay, wait. Was it the 2004?
I wish people could have seen Jeremy's transformation just now. That was unbelievable. I mean, you really went all the way for that.
There's a little physicality in my impressions usually.
No, yeah. So I guess Alien versus Predator came out after Freddy versus Jason. The following year, you could have gone
They're
back
like,
to back.
It worked. Greenlight it.
Go,
Whoever
go, go, go.
over. Rambo and Rocky, can you cross over together?
Hey, now there's something. Now, wait a second. we patent this. Nobody can take it. That's our idea.
Yeah,
That's our
copyright.
idea.
Wait, you want to do a
MPU.
Rambo and Rocky crossover?
Yeah.
So it's like, is it like Mrs. Doubtfire where he like runs in the bathroom and he has to change into his boxing outfit,
Yes.
like and
Wow,
come
yeah,
out?
that's the one.
I
I
hadn't
want.
thought of it, but
Invent
yes.
new camera technology so that they can physically fight one another, and it's Stallone playing both
Oh, like
parts.
Logan. Spoilers for Logan.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's not new, Jeremy.
no,
Oh,
this is-
Cap v Cap in
guys-
Endgame.
Gemini Man.
You're not listening.
Gemini Man.
You're not understanding. this.
Jer,
What I'm
Back to the
saying,
Gemini
Future.
Man.
Back
Is
to the
that-
Future 2. Back to the Future 3.
they fight each other in the same shot, you guys.
Oh, yeah. No, that's never been done.
Right?
Huh.
No.
It's genius. Copyright.
Wait.
MPU 90 under 90. Don't take our idea. We have the technology that we're working on too to make this
Yeah.
happen. It's
Mm.
new.
Yeah, so you should buy the patent from us.
It's proprietary. And we are not like we're going to be using the volume to do some of it, and that'll help.
What he said.
The volume, right? That'll work. Never
Pump
mind.
up the volume.
Are you guys familiar with the volume? Am I like that's what it's called, right? That's what they call the thing from Mandalorian that they use to shoot the show.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
is
that
that what they call
room.
it?
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
talking about that room.
Okay. So you guys are ignorant. I'm
Yeah.
the smart one.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Be quiet for the next 10 minutes now.
Well, now we need you because, you got some actors to go over,
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
I mean, we could just go to the plot.
I just want to go to the plot. What do you want?
Scott Farkas from Christmas Stories in this. He's
Yeah.
the dead
You got-
brother.
Bobby England. You got not Kane Hodder.
Kenny
you got-
Kersey.
You got Farkas. You got Monica
Yep.
Keena.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yep.
got my high school girlfriend Kim in a red baseball cap.
Oh yeah, Kim
You've got
from Ginger Snaps.
You got Jason Mewes.
Yep.
You got Jack Black,
Mm-hmm.
and
Friggity.
you got Jason Ritter.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Ritz.
Baby-
It wouldn't
baby-
be a Ronnie Yu film without a Ritter.
Now with Jason Ritter in Never Sleep Again. So I don't know anything about this guy except that his dad is
John Ritter.
One John Ritter.
The late great John Ritter.
Yes. And they were like, we all know he had a troubled life and it's sad that he passed. Do you guys know what the story is with Jason Ritter?
Jason Ritter? Well,
Jason
John Ritter.
John Ritter
John Ritter-
passed. I remember that because I was watching 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter every Friday night.
I wonder if Jason. They're talking about Jason's struggles.
Yeah.
Maybe addiction. I don't want to put that out there. Maybe depression. I know he's an artist, like a musician of sorts.
Wait, is he still
I don't know.
alive? Because they made it sound
Yeah.
like he died in the.
Oh,
No, he's still
Jason
alive. He
Ritter?
was on-
No, he's still alive. He does
Yeah, he's
Gravity
still alive.
Falls. He's Dipper on
He
Gravity
is?
Falls. Yeah. Jason Ritter.
Whoa.
Because in
He was on-
Never Sleep Again, they made it sound like he died, or
Well,
maybe
John
John
Ritter-
Ritter.
yeah, I
John
think-
Ritter died, and he died during operation, and that was really sad. And Amy,
Right.
tried to sue the hospital. Yeah, terrible lawsuit with the hospital and everything. I think is what
Well,
happened there.
Wait, when did John Ritter die? Because now I'm confused.
That's got to be like it was the year this movie came out. Actually, it was 2003.
Yeah, like
Okay.
Bad Santa. He was like his last film was Bad Santa.
Yeah,
I
and that
think.
was
Yeah.
2003. So it was like 0304.
Okay, let's see here. 2003, September 11th, 2003.
Oh Jesus.
Okay, so now I'm understanding. They were saying, I think in the doc they were basically implying why he wasn't there, which is like he's, or no, because they did it in 2010.
I think they couldn't get Jason Ritter for the document. Well, honestly, in 2000, Jason Ritter in 2010, that's when it came out. Maybe he was on Parenthood at the time and just couldn't. Because he was on that show for a little while. I don't know.
Or maybe
Maybe
even he
he's
was
just like,
in
I'm
it,
not
and I
speaking on
just
the documentary.
completely like messed up when I was
No,
watching
I've
it.
seen that doc. I don't think he's in that documentary. I've seen it a few times, and I don't.
So I
remember
think they were just saying, that he's had a tough time because his dad
Mhm.
died when this movie came out. Basically,
Mm.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I really thought that he
Very
died
sad.
as well as his dad from the way they were talking.
No, that would be tragic.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't want to talk about that story.
John Ritter was in Bride of Chucky, so I guess the U was friends with the Ritters because he put Jason in Freddy v. Jason.
It was
So-
kind of. I remember that part of the documentary. It was like because they wanted to have Brad Renfro be the Jason Ritter character.
Oh, really?
And then like Brad Renfro couldn't do it. They got I don't know
He
whatever.
he died. Brad Renfro died.
Oh,
I
well, there you
believe.
go.
Yeah.
Probably. And then I remember in the documentary, Ronnie Yu was like, but then I remembered, John Ritter had a son. And it was just like, it was almost as if
He's got to be as good
I don't
as
know
his
if he
dad.
acts, but he had a son.
Yeah. That's how it works. The
I did
kids are as
think
good.
I did think Jason Ritter was good in this.
He's
he's good. I
good.
like Jason
He's
Ritter.
proven himself in like project after project, and also he's Dipper in Gravity Falls. If anybody's a fan, like that's awesome.
Jordan loves it.
Mhm.
Great stuff. And then he was on Parks and Rec. He was like the wine guy, wasn't he?
No, I think that's a guy who looks like Jason Ritter.
No,
Yeah,
I
he
don't-
was on. How much you want to bet he was on Parks and Rec?
I'll look it up.
I will bet you on that. I'm
All right,
almost positive
all right.
it's not
Let's hear
Jason
the
Ritter in
bet.
that one. He plays the sommelier
Jer-
in that one
what do you want-
episode.
what do you
Yeah,
wanna put
I
on the
know
table,
which
Jared?
character you're talking
I'll
about.
put a 5 spot on the table.
Okay.
5 spot right here. That ain't Jason Ritter.
He's the handsome guy who's I'll take it.
In that one episode of
No,
Parks and I
Jason
exactly
Ritter.
I know exactly what you're talking about too.
No, Jason Ritter.
Dan
No,
has
no,
to
no, no.
confirm, but that's
No,
okay.
Yeah, so
Dan-
confirm away. What season was that?
It was
I
like
don't
season
know.
6. I'm pretty sure it was 6 or 7 because he's getting Tom's Bistro set up and he wants to hire a sommelier and that's the guy he wants to hire, but then ends up hiring Craig.
Yes.
My wife and I literally just got finished watching Parks and Rec again for like the 4th or 5th time, so I'm overly
Mhm.
familiar.
This is the suspense is
This is great.
right.
listening here.
Oh man, wait, come on.
The,
man, I'm
the
sorry.
newspaper's starting to turn.
Come on, guys.
It's
Hold
swishing.
on.
It's heading for the screen. We need that
Podcast
headline.
hosting brothers Dan Eden and Jerry Eden.
Oh man,
Dan
Jer,
loses $5 in a bet.
I owe you $5. Man, how do it look like him?
How did he make
this
a
is
mistake like that?
let me-
Says the newspaper journalist.
Let me backpedal a little bit here.
I know what you're talking about. It looks exactly like him.
Man, okay.
Yeah, he does look a lot like
All
him.
right.
I'm glad that we wasted so much.
Oh
time.
yeah, that was good. That's prime podcasting.
Yeah.
That's the beauty
Yeah.
of editing.
Oh yeah, take that out, please.
But
Dan losing $5
no.
Yeah, yeah.
live.
The exchange will be in there. It'll just seem a lot quicker.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, just don't. Let's not waste the audience's time here.
Well, let's talk about this movie.
'Kay.
So one thing I noticed right away in a post Scream world. Now it happens. Movies have varying degree of quality. That's always going to be the case. But it's kind of like the Walk Hard thing with music biopics. After Walk Hard came out, music biopics all should have changed because they just got dunked on so hard. After Scream comes out, you gotta not have like you can't write your teens like this anymore because it's all been like covered in Scream and like perfectly done. And then you said Scary Movie had already come out by then too.
Yeah, Scary Movie came out in 2000. So at this point, they're probably 3 or 4 scary movies deep.
Yeah, and like all the total relationship of all of the main characters, I was just like, oof. And it's the first like Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street movie that looks like somewhat modern to my understanding of modern living.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man, they're just doing every single like tropey line, tropey whatever. And hey, what's the point of ragging on this movie? Like nobody thought it was The Godfather, but you know what I'm saying. I just thought I'd point it out.
Yeah.
Well, even in this scene, like in the with the girls and like the guys come over, like the guy is so over the top, such an asshole.
Yeah.
That it's like it almost feels like for a little bit in the beginning they're leaning into the satire almost. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I wish that they would have kept that up because like that could have been interesting if it was like just that consistently like these characters are that cliche. You know, I could have been okay with that if it's like not quite the parody route, but like we're really just like hyping up the behavior of the characters. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's a throwback movie, you know, like that's part of what they're intending to do.
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't know.
But yeah, steer the ship, Jordan.
Well, before that, don't we have the little montage that kind of sets up the movie?
We do.
So it's Freddy talking.
Yeah.
About what he's done. And we get clips of all the past movies. And then he like resurrects Jason, kind of. Like, because he never dies. That's the thing about Jason and what he says. And then Jason's mom is talking to him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But it's actually Freddy.
Uh-huh.
But Jason was born with a special gift, and he is to do one thing: kill.
Yes. Now, is that pretty tried and true to Friday the 13th? That mythology?
Sure.
His relationship to his mother and his bending at her will when he thinks he sees her, yeah, that's fairly true to it. So for him to hallucinate his mother, or for Freddy to pose as his mother and be like, go to Elm Street, he'd be like, okay, mom. like that all checks out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, it's never been explicitly clear, like, your gift is that you'll never die, you know, like it's kind of just like, this guy doesn't seem to die, you know, like, no, they've never been like, you don't die, and that is your thing, dude. That's why we love you.
That felt like a little tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Like we all know this about Jason.
Little, yeah.
But I kind of liked the setup. I liked how they did it.
Well, and one thing, a praise point on this is they didn't show any footage from New Nightmare, which I thought is smart because like that takes place outside of the reality of these movies, and that's like a real demon that exists in our world. And I'm glad they didn't include any of that in this. I thought that was a smart move. Whether that was intentional or just an oversight on their part, probably an oversight.
No,
but
you can't touch New Nightmare. I think they knew it. Like, don't. Wes Craven will get mad. Just don't,
right. To which and Never Sleep Again. It's just a great doc because also everyone is honest. You know, it's the thing that I think. You know, like, would we ever get a documentary like this about Marvel where everyone's honest? No, they're all just going to be like, it was the best experience. That was also the best experience. You know, we'll never get that.
The only way you're going to get dirt is in one of the former actors' like personal like autobiographies.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, here's what really happened. It's like Robert Downey Jr. was amazing. That's the truth. I can't lie about it.
But like in this, it's just great because Wes is sitting there and he's like, yeah, this movie, I felt like it didn't rise to the level of what the cerebral elements of Nightmare on Elm Street should be. And you're like, whoa, okay. You're just straight up like, I think this movie's bad.
Yeah, but like the same could be said about, his opinion on 4 and 5 and probably Freddy's
Yeah.
Dead too.
No, but I just mean like in general. I just
Yeah, it
love
is,
that like
yeah.
in the doc, like he's willing to say that, and then like in many of the other movies, the actors will be like, I had to do this thing, and this scene is so dumb, or
Well,
you know.
this is, I mean, you got to remember that this is still back in the time where they let things die, including franchises and intellectual property. So like they were able to take this approach of just be like, it's over now. We don't have to like talk about it all positively.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
It's
Yeah.
over, and now nothing dies. You can't
Yeah.
talk about anything, even if your experience is bad, because you're just like, well, they're probably going to bring me back in 15 years when they reboot it. And, like,
Right.
I don't know. I got to be quiet.
That's true.
You said that, and it sounded like you were one of the actors.
Yeah, Jared's like, I gotta be quiet.
Like I gotta stop saying this
I
stuff.
should be quiet. I don't want to talk
Mhm.
badly about Golden Apron.
Oh yeah. Watch yourself. Mhm.
Yeah, because we got to get that Force Awakens Golden Apron movie, in 40
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
My goal is for all of my characters in Dan's movies to cross over and just help each other out. It's gonna be me from I Hate Theater. It's gonna be Greg, and it's gonna be Wolf.
The guy in Golden Apron. Yeah,
That's gonna be the Spider-Man No Way Home of me.
great.
Wow, I can't wait to see that.
I mean, I would
What-
watch it. That sounds fun
Yeah.
to me. But
You
yeah,
know what, I'd
so
shoot it. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah,
Go
this
ahead.
this establishes Freddy bringing Jason back to do his dark bidding.
yeah,
Go to Springwood, go to Elm Street, and then we cut to the kids.
right. And we're introduced to these kids. They're
Midriff is back
you were able
Maybe.
to identify the year by the
simply
the style.
by the fashion. And yeah, so I think her name's Gib, the
Is
girl
it
in the
Gib?
hat. I think
Yeah.
so.
Oh, that's
Big
unfortunate.
Bee Gees fan.
Yeah,
Loves
her
Barry Gibb.
and her mean dude go upstairs while Lori, Kia, and the Blake
Yeah,
are downstairs. And Lori wants nothing to do with Blake, and Blake's just trying to have a good time.
trying to score.
I
Yeah.
like your feng shui. It's really cool. It's a good vibe. It's really open.
It's pretty wild. And then the couple upstairs have sex for like 2.5 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but it cuts and he's just like, yeah, fuck me, baby. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
again,
chill
but, like,
out, dude.
With the door open.
The combination of him being like, babe, I'm not going to tell you again, like that, and like
over
this,
the top
it's
dickhead.
like oh,
Yeah.
okay, like we're leaning into it, but
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
don't anymore in the movie, and they lean into these other weird elements like
Yeah.
Jay and these weirdos
I
at the
love
rave.
that we just
and-
keep calling him Jay.
Jay. He is, but
I'm like literally
um,
like I'm convinced that one of the 16 drafts may have been written by Kevin Smith, and he included Jay and Silent Bob in there.
I would
And they were
believe
just like,
that.
well, we like
Yeah.
like this element of it.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember the bit that they do in the doc?
Yeah, that they have
Jay?
him show up. He's like, wait a minute, I wasn't in that movie. No.
Yeah.
really?
They have the actor who is Jay.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
He's like, oh yeah, and I love coming down to Freddy versus Jason, and then he's like, wait a minute, I wasn't in that movie, and then he walks off.
Awesome.
Kind of hey, that's an episode of Good Bits.
hey. I think it was.
I think it was.
I think it is. Shit. Okay, so they're in the bedroom, right? And they're doing
Yeah.
it. And then Jason shows up, right?
Jason shows up and stabs him a lot, and then folds the mattress in half. And when he did that, Micah was looking down, and we had to rewind.
God,
It happened
sweet.
so fast.
I was taking
Sweet
notes.
Micah.
I was taking notes.
Uh-huh.
It's the downside of doing a movie podcast. You
Yeah,
often
sometimes
are
you miss.
not looking at the best parts, which is why I don't take
Mhm.
notes anymore, and I'm often forgetting half the movie.
Yeah, I mean, we're only beholden to ourselves, So
Yeah.
as long as people are okay with the ride being condensed a little bit. Like actually this movie halfway through I was like I'm done taking notes. Like, I'm really tired, and I get it, and I know
I've
how to
seen
talk
what I
about
wanna
it. That's
see.
it.
I got enough. I got it. I got the idea.
I'm like, Jeremy and Dan will carry this episode. They're probably gonna come up with a great newsreel bit that'll make this a quality app.
Like, I better ready the newspaper.
I did
That's
like.
it. Where the fuck is the transmission? Sorry, guys. I don't know.
I did like though how when the police show up, the one guy's like, "Oh my gosh, this is probably Freddy Krueger," and then they're all like, "Don't say anything." And
What did you think about
Beetlejuice rules.
What do you think about the cover-up conspiracy of Freddy?
I liked that idea a lot.
Yeah.
Where Freddy has been forgotten, because it also works on a meta level, which is fun. That
Yeah.
like Freddy hasn't had a movie in so long, so people have forgotten. They're not afraid. Now he's got to come back and scare everybody. That's a great concept.
What it is.
You know what though?
It's
Freddy Krueger, the ultimate person, like throwing blame on everyone else. You're the one who got all jokey and started playing jokes and pranks and got all silly. So don't
And
be blaming
spoofing
everyone.
movies.
They forgot about me. Like, no, you kind of got soft.
I think you have a great point though, Mike, is that sometimes like installments, it shows what it means to be a fan of the series with like meta commentaries almost. And I would agree with that when it comes to this. You know, like, yeah, I think this is another reason why so many people came out. It's like it knows it's a celebration for fans. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and this is before, I don't know, from my knowledge and movie watching, I feel like this is before meta became like smarmy, like winking at the camera and more
Ryan
like
Reynolds stuff.
Yeah, it's before like Deadpool. I mean, I just didn't want to bash Ryan again, as I've done many times. It was like when it was still like, hey, you guys watch a lot of movies, so you maybe get this joke, and like the general public isn't going to get it. But we're also not going to sit there and be like, did you understand that joke? Did you?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So on that level, I do like that element of this movie. That little meta commentary is fun. And maybe that's the last of what I enjoy.
Wow. At what point did you dip out?
I'm trying to remember what happens. I mean, when I saw the teens come in, I was kind of like, okay, this is gonna be
it's
tough.
gonna be one of those kinds of movies, is what you thought.
Yeah, and then it really, when we paused it and there were still 40 minutes left, I was like, how is there 40 minutes? What? Because that's the other thing with movies like this is I feel like, they're not good. So who do you think you're fooling? Why don't you just have it filled with like nonstop killing, basically? I don't know. Because it's like the movie's a little bit boring because they are trying to develop it, which is such a lame complaint because it's like they are trying. So I'm like, but it's like I don't know. Do some more kills.
I think you can do that in a Jason movie with I shouldn't say because copyright Dan and Jer, but we Dan and I came up with a decent Friday the 13th like reboot idea.
Oh yeah, we did in Since No One Asked on the podcast. We did. Yep.
And
I liked it.
Yeah, I'll say no one's gonna
go. You have to become a patron. I think is it behind a paywall?
Yeah.
No, I mean technically it is, but anyway, I think that there is a way that you could load it without really like needing to rely too much on like a major like deep through line or anything.
A lot of this movie, you're right, like they have to, and since this is the event you've all been waiting for and we have to explain how exactly they're sharing the screen together, that means we have to take time to explain rules of this movie. And that takes time. It takes time, it's expositional. It usually doesn't consist of kills or anything fun. It's just dialogue and
and then we have to explain like the whole conspiracy of no one mentions Freddy anymore, that whole thing. And then also like I feel like this movie's trying to do a lot of things. I do think it's interesting that Lori, like her first love at 14, she hasn't seen him in years, and then we find out that he's in an institution. I thought that was interesting. And then,
I like that actually.
Why he was in it. But then like when they got out and like all of their stuff post institution was a little messy to me.
Mm.
It was just I feel like it was really
just a little
all
bit.
over the place.
Just a little. Well, you're talking about the caterpillar, that whole sequence, like because that's in like the latter half
Yeah.
of the film, right?
Yeah.
I would agree. And then when they get to Crystal Lake, it's really just about the fireworks, as Ronnie you would even say in
Yeah.
the Never Sleep Again.
Yeah.
It's just give them something good at Camp Crystal Lake. I feel like they do a decent enough job at that, albeit a cartoony like Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote job at it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Very
Yeah.
much so.
like I found it to be the most disappointing element of this movie on this watch was just like, oh, this is really what the third act is basically just them punching and slashing and like there's almost no
what's fun?
creativity to it.
Yeah.
The fun part is where Freddy does fuck with Jason's head and he puts him at Camp Crystal Lake, right? He does he like tap into his mind with his claw, and he actually he physically takes him there in a dream, and to see Jason go through a nightmare is very interesting. That's something you can't see in any other movie, you know. They should lean into that a little bit more. Instead, it is external fisticuffs, explosions.
Now, did you notice in the dream that the counselors that are having sex, he has his pants on all the way?
Is that right? So he's like just maybe zipped down and he's just got it like.
It was just it's very weird for a movie that has like a little bit of like graphic nudity. Well, not graphic nudity, but whatever you
Sexual
define
content.
it, MPAA. But no butt on the guy, just shorts all the way up.
Yeah, you don't want to see because if you shoot that character with no pants on, that character then becomes Freddy Krueger moments later, and you don't want to see Freddy's bare ass there. Like it's the last.
That's true. Yeah.
The last transition you want to see is like.
As someone who shot a scene in that exact same sexual position, I gotta say you have to do it with your pants down. You just have to. I'm serious.
He actually is serious.
It was a comedy film. It's funny.
It's in our first movie.
It's graphic. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, see what they're missing out too is for all those Freddy 2, Freddy's Revenge heads, where Freddy could have gone into the nightmare, pulled the guy's pants down, and then had a bunch of phantom towels smacking his ass.
Oh, like in 2. Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Callback time.
Wonderful. At least like that one, that one's looking pretty good compared to this one, isn't it? Because it's thematically sound, it's cohesive, it's actually saying something, you know?
Freddy 2 it's fun. And it's worth it. It's one of those. It's so bad that it really is like in that room zone where you're like, I'm enjoying this all the way through. Unlike like a bad movie where you're just bored. That one's like, let's keep it going.
I belong to a movie club with a guest who frequents our show, Charlie Wine, and admittedly, a lot of the guys in the club are gay or bi, and we watched Friday 2. I'm sorry, Nightmare 2 together as a group. And it was very interesting to hear them talk about the queer aspects of the film and how like ahead of its time it was. So like you got to give kudos to even 2 compared to what did this movie do? How sweet, dark meat. Great. Thanks, Freddy. Thanks a lot. Instead of Nightmare 2 moving us forward, this one takes us back many years just with that line.
Or with Kelly Rowland's line.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Replying with the F word is like, oh, cherry on top.
Which in the doc they go to great lengths to point out that was not in the script.
Because the writers were like, I don't want anyone thinking that we put that in the script when somebody else decides on the set, we'll say this instead.
No, man.
I don't blame them.
Their idea was actually cooler because the idea was she starts quoting to Jason everything that Nancy says at the end of Nightmare.
Freddy?
No, to Jason.
Okay.
At the that's part of the thing.
Oh, okay.
She's saying like, I don't fear you anymore. You're gonna go away. All the stuff she says at the end of Nightmare one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Freddy would pop behind a bush and he'd go, "Wrong mythology, bitch," and then kill her.
Oh.
Another meta joke. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I like
Especially-
The only
after
weird thing
watching
about
one.
that is that it would imply that there was already a Nightmare on Elm Street movie in this universe, and that was a line that could be quoted. Because why would she know
That
to
is
say
that's
those?
so true. Yeah.
So then they were like, I can't think of anything else she would say. I got an idea.
Guys,
And we're all watching it and we're like,
roll the camera. Roll the camera. Just roll it. I'll just trust
You know
me.
who else was suspiciously not in the documentary, if I remember correctly, is Kelly Rowland.
Yeah, that's because she's she's
yeah.
Beyonce level
may
now.
or may not have improvised that line herself.
She's filling out stadiums though. She's like Beyonce level. All the Destiny's
Well,
children
if-
have gone
if-
on to do great things.
If they
All
dig
my
up
children.
All of my Destiny's children. Bootylicious.
They should. I mean, what they should do is they should make that a through line, and they should get all the Destiny's Child one by one. In future movies.
I would love to see Michelle Williams. Was it Michelle Williams? I think it was, despite the actress also having the name. I'd love to see Michelle in a Nightmare movie. Come on, what is she doing besides selling out arenas like
She's not busy.
Beyonce?
You got time. Wow, we kind of just bounced around and talked. We randomly talked about every scene in the movie. It seems like.
Well, that's
Pretty
good.
much.
What,
I do like that they bring back Hypnosil, which they talk
Yeah.
about in Nightmare 3.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
So, okay, here's a question. So, Will and I think it's Mark are both in the institution. And is it because, so Lori's mom died, was murdered, and Will saw her dad do it. And did he like tell the police and like, they're like, you're crazy, go in this institution?
And
or
he's a doctor, so he was able to like
Oh, right, the
manipulate
dad
it.
of the
Because
doctor.
yawning.
I think-
That's right.
I think it was that.
that.
Well, I think it was that. If I remember correctly, he saw Freddy kill, like, because
That's
obviously
right.
Freddy is the actual one who kills her
Yes.
mother, and he saw that, and so I think they locked him away to be like, no, we can't let Freddy spread further.
That's right.
So I'm pretty sure that's why they locked him
And
Oh,
away.
I
Freddy-
thought he
Freddy
didn't know it was
killed-
Freddy, because
Well,
when
Mark was the
yeah.
one who was sure because he like knew that Freddy was responsible for his brother's death.
right,
Like, he
right.
was-
So it's like the
yeah.
town cover up thing.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
those kids, put them in the institution. They're children. They'll be fine. Don't worry about it at all.
Yeah. And I know this is movie stuff. It's fine, but it just was kind of cracking me up. So they break out. They go to high school to find Lori, and
yeah.
they cause a big scene. And then, like a few scenes later, we cut back to them still in the high school, and like the police show up, and it's like, you're telling me that like dozens of eyes spotted these people, and the police didn't like lock down the school. Because like as the police is trying to arrest them, the bell rings and all the kids come out in the hallway and they can just escape.
Oh,
It's like
yeah,
you're telling me that
yes.
like there's not a lockdown for like insane people escaped from the institution, but it's a
No.
movie and it's okay.
I'm sorry to say that this is 2003, and
True.
we had not yet sunk that far in this country.
There weren't enough bad apples to spoil the bunch
Col-
yet. I guess.
when was Columbine?
I think
04?
Columbine wasn't it before this?
Was it? When was Columbine?
Yeah, it was.
Wasn't it in the
The
90s?
late
uh,
90s?
Yeah, it was like 90,
Yeah.
99, I want to say.
I undershot that one.
I don't want to say. Well, you're talking to a guy who lost $5 in this episode, so
That's true. Yeah.
you know who's got more egg on their face? This guy.
Well, you can't remember an actor on one episode of a TV show, and I can't remember history. So I don't
But you did know about the president's heads.
I did
Oh,
know
yeah.
about that. I did.
I'm Grover
why?
Cleveland.
Because I'm
And Dan knew
pathetic and
upwards
I
of
scrolled past it
5.
on a TikTok while I was in the middle of reviewing sodas. It's fucking
Jared.
stupid.
Jared, hit us with your Jimmy Carter.
My Jimmy Carter is just
Hit us-
based off of
hit
the
us with you-
Simpsons Jimmy Carter.
Hit us with your Carter.
With my Jimmy Carter? Okay, well this here's my Jimmy Carter.
I'm gonna build a house for you.
Yes, I'll
How
build a
big
house
do you
for
want
you.
your house to be?
Okay, and let me tell you something. I want to help you through this situation. It's kind of
Mhm.
a little close to Bill
Yeah.
Clinton.
Yeah.
All I can do is Futurama Nixon.
Let's hear it.
Another crook. You know, I think with the headphones, it messed up my cheeks.
I'm glad we take
Arr.
I'm glad we're taking an impression deviation here. I forgot because I remembered now
Yep.
because I've been meaning to do it for you guys.
Yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
Jordan and
Oh.
Micah are such big blank check fans.
Yes.
As am I. I listen to the show too. So I wanted to do. I'm going to do. Here's my one word impression of Griffin Newman. Okay.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh boy. Okay.
One word impression of Griffin Newman. Okay.
Okay.
David.
Whoa! Whoa!
You like that?
Oh my God,
You like that?
That was unreal.
That's the only word I could do. It's just David. Because you hear it like 40 times in
You
every
do.
episode.
You do. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
you
awesome.
got it. I wish my tweets would get to him because I'd love for him to hear that moment, but they
You
don't.
know what you do? You isolate that clip and you say, "Hey,
I got you at gunpoint.
no, you know what
Listen
you
to
do?
this or else."
You isolate the moment before the impression, and then you say, if you want to listen to the show, if you want to hear the impression, Griffin, listen to the show.
You edge him with the promise of an
I like
impression
that.
of him.
That's good.
Mhm.
One day
A
we're gonna
one
get
word
him though.
impression. He's like, that'll be worth it to hear one word.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this movie,
Uh-huh.
what else happens in it?
Uh,
I will say, I think Mark is good too.
Yeah,
I think the
he's
two
good.
guys are like doing a pretty good performance. I liked
Yeah.
both their performances.
Seriously, like the little guy, Mark. He's like the friend.
The
Yeah.
little guy. Yeah.
The little guy, he's great. I think he's great in this. Like, and I think
Yeah.
like he actually gets some funny moments, and like he's a good bro by like causing that diversion and like mooning the guards and running
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
You know, he's
He gets
probably
to-
my favorite character in this.
His bathroom. I like the scene
absolutely.
in the bathroom.
Yeah,
with his
where he's
brother,
freaking
where
out
we
with
Yeah.
his
kind of already
bro.
mentioned
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that was good.
And I think even in like Never Say Never, he has reverence for the movie. He probably knows it's like it is what it is, but like you could tell he looks fondly on it, and that always counts, you know, when
Yeah.
you're looking at docs like that. Yeah, I thought he was great. Who's the lead lady? Monica.
Keena.
Monica.
What'd you guys think of her in this movie? Just okay? Didn't like her?
no, she
thumbs
was-
down from Micah.
Yeah, thumbs down
Huge.
for me too. The especially the scene when it's like,
She's talking to her dad.
yeah, the day after, like the morning after the being at the police station, and her dad's trying to drug her, but she's like coming on to her dad, and gosh,
Ew.
it's so gross.
That's gross. But how superficial are you guys? I mean, performance aside. No, I thought she was. I had a big. I'm just gonna say I had a big crush on her.
That makes sense.
As I imagine a lot of kids did when that movie came out.
You were
And,
snuck into the theater at 15. Yeah, you're gonna have a crush
yeah.
on her.
Yeah, I
See-
mean, they knew what they
see-
were doing casting her. Like, I don't
See,
know.
I was a Gibb fan because my girlfriend looked somewhat like
Mm.
her.
Gibbs
And she
cute too.
she was cool.
Yeah.
She smoked and drank.
And she wears
Yeah.
a baseball cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like a tomboy. Anyway, that's enough of my creepiness.
We gotta
This
talk about the
Everclear is
corn
kicking
scene.
my ass.
Yeah.
Like that scene.
Yeah, there's a corn cob club.
Corn cob club.
Corn Cob Club. And they are playing techno music. Now, a fun side note, I just want to point out they mixed the music so that it sounded like it was inside a club and they're outdoors. That was just funny to me. But it's not really noticeable. But I just liked that I noticed it.
Good for you.
And Jordan and I, anytime there's any club scene, we always dance on the couch. So I'm always a fan of. We don't really we definitely don't go out to clubs. We don't really even go out to bars very often.
No,
And
that
so,
costs money.
well, yeah, it's just funny because anytime there's a club scene, we're always just like feeling it on the couch, which is
Oh
fun.
yeah, you vibe a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially, I'll do it ironically if it's like a funny sounding melody. Like it's just like this is an odd club tune. Yeah, like that'll
Yeah.
happen a lot at my household. But I told Micah, and I'm going to tell you, Jordan. Speaking of irony, like every year I make my wife. I don't know if I make her now. I think she likes it, to be honest. But we watch Labor Day on Labor Day with Josh Brolin and Kate Winslet. One of the most schmaltzy, like gooey, hard on your sleeves dramas ever. If you watch the trailer, he literally helps her make a pie from behind, like he ghosts a pie with her. And like that, the club stuff reminded me of that. Just like
Wow.
that's us just watching Labor Day. But the thing is, at the end of Labor Day, I unironically cry. So it's like
that's sweet.
it's like the part in Forgetting Sarah Marshall where he finally, or I Love You Man, he's finally watching Chocolat and he's crying. He's like,
Yeah.
stupid movie, like through tears. It's like
it gets you every time.
Yep.
So I hope that you guys are baking a pie for Thanksgiving. Well, I know it's coming out way after, and I hope to see a picture of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking to me. I thought you were talking to the listeners. Yeah, like we're
No, I'm
definitely
talking
gonna.
about you. Yeah, I want you guys to do that.
We're doing a pumpkin pie, so it'd be messy. But
yeah.
like we should do it just in a pumpkin pie. Just
well,
get
you
our
got to
fingers
put the
in
crust
there.
on the bottom. So
Yeah,
there you go.
You gotta press that down into the pan.
Yeah, you do.
And
You wrap your arms around and you press her. You put your hands on top of her hands so you can create more pressure.
Yeah, and then it gets really sexual. But
This
I was
is
telling
good.
Micah, there's a line in the trailer where he says he makes them take them home with him. He's wounded. Spoilers. Josh Brolin. And he says, frankly, this needs to happen. So I said to Micah, I said, you and Jordan need to watch the movie for your. I don't care if it's for your Patreon or whatever. You need to review it. And I said, frankly, this needs to happen. To Micah.
I love it. I've never seen it.
You gotta watch Labor Day.
It was funny because
Day.
when you were texting me about it, I was just like, "What is this movie?" And when I watched the trailer, I was like, I was like Thor in Thor Ragnarok when he's going through like the vortex ride, because I was like transported into the theater and I could like see the trailer playing and turning to whoever I was with and being like, "Oof." Yikes, that looks bad.
Which is what you said to me. Oof. Like a big oof.
The Jason Reitman movie.
Yeah, Jason Reitman, who's he makes movies.
He made Juno.
He made Juno, and that's great.
And Ghostbusters was anyway. Did you guys see Ghostbusters?
No.
I haven't.
Okay, never mind. Anyway,
it looked like a serious.
It looked like a romp,
movie.
you guys. It looked hilarious.
Jared, did you see it?
No.
I'm the only Ghostbusters afterlife are you?
I guess so.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Was it as bad as I thought it was gonna be?
Well, bear in mind, Micah has no nostalgia for Ghostbusters.
I don't.
Okay,
but
neither do I. Really.
I'm just confused by making a drama out of a comedy movie. That's what I'm confused about.
It takes a long time to set up, and then if you really want like spoilers, like the third act basically replicates the third act of the first film, which is just a trope you see a lot today.
Which is messed up because Ghostbusters 2016 basically replicated the third act of the original Ghostbusters too. As somebody who also is of the generation, I think that Ghostbusters is incredibly overrated.
Wow.
I don't know how it got a cartoon.
Agreed.
I don't know how an entire generation grew up thinking that the Ghostbusters was amazing because like it's one good movie, another movie, a cartoon that's like I never watched.
Two not good movies.
And then two not good movies.
Yeah.
Here's your Ghostbusters in a video game.
I hear you.
Do you guys listen to Freedom?
No.
Occasionally, not lately.
They just said a really interesting thing on their most recent episode. Well, Paul F. Tompkins said this, where he feels like today's current generation, I guess millennials.
Yeah.
Like everything is sacred to them. And like a movie that they saw as a kid is still as good as when they saw it as a kid if they watched it today. But he was of the opinion, he's like in his 50s of like his generation, they allow movies to become bad. And there's not a lot of like sacredness towards like a childhood favorite. And I thought that was interesting.
Like what Jared was saying about the doc, they let franchises die. I think they knew what it was. They weren't clinging on for their last, like on life support, so to speak. Some
and
franchises should die, you know?
that'll
Yeah.
blow up too. Like that bubble will pop too, where like all IP
Yeah.
will just start to disappear, and it'll all be just a sea of like completely original movies that I don't know when it'll happen, but it'll happen.
I think so.
There's only so much IP to go around, and you can't
Yeah.
take something that's only like 5 to 10 years old and
Mhm.
like create nostalgia for it when it's like you haven't given us enough time to actually feel nostalgic about it. Also, you've given us 8 movies in the last 10 years, so like no, this is like
Yeah.
overload.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I do think, though, I think this year bodes well for the future of original stuff, blockbuster wise, box office wise, because there were just a lot of hits that were just first time movies. So hopefully that's changing. And even though I've liked to varying degrees a lot of the Phase 4 of Marvel, there seems to be like a little bit less of an enthusiasm for the biggest franchise in the world.
I agree. I feel it, and it's because those kids like are getting older now, or there's kids who are like being born who like Marvel has always been a part of their life, and they're growing up. Even if they were born 10 years ago, they're 10 years old now, being like, why? Like that they're feeling the same way that I felt about Star Wars as a kid,
Yeah.
which is like, these movies are before I was born. Who cares? Why are they so popular? Everyone seems to love them. Okay, I watched them. I was like, okay, I don't really get it that much. So like that's what's happening is like enough of those kids are going to grow up, and the audience is just going to be like like a bunch of like 50-year-old guys be like, oh man, I can't, could you believe what they did? They finally brought the X-Men in. You know, and kids will just be like, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit about this. Who cares?
Leave me
All of
alone,
these
Uncle
white men
Dan.
are like in their 40s at least.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's old white men, and like now they're getting like they're trying to do just the baby versions of. So now we're just getting like the Flintstones kids versions of all the Marvel heroes that we know, and it's like I don't think that's gonna work to get a lot of younger people.
Well, did you
You
hear?
can't call a bunch of people in their mid-20s the Young Avengers. Like it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, children.
Have you heard about what the Rousseau brothers are working on next?
Is it the Gray Man too?
No, it's I'm trying to remember. It's a remake of a movie, but they said something wild, just wild about their inspiration, which is just semi-related to this, what we're talking about.
Is Freddy Krueger in it?
Here's the AV Club title. So Micah, let's see.
Oh.
Rousseau brothers say their Hercules musical is TikTok inspired.
Yes, I did hear about
read
that,
that.
actually. This is my article.
We'll see about that.
I heard about this article
That's
that
the
Micah
sub-headline.
mentioned, and
Yeah.
we'll see. That's it.
Yeah.
The newspaper wrote back to another newspaper.
Yeah, they're responding to each other.
Just a reinterpretation of the animated film, a little more experimental in tone, a little more
Wait,
experimental
so is
in
this a Disney live
execution.
action thing, technically? If
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
Disney-
On
okay.
how they can stretch the limits
Oh.
of their IP moving forward rather than playing IP management.
So
Yes.
basically,
Wow.
it's going to be a movie musical, and in it, you are in the audience are going to have to get up and like shoot your own version of the scene where they're dancing, and you're going to have to like it's a challenge.
there we
you know,
go,
and you
yeah.
have to do it because it's a challenge. You've been challenged by the
Here's-
internet, so do it.
I read this article. I believe it was about Hercules, wasn't it? Guy Ritchie's Hercules is inspired by TikTok. Are the Russos involved in that production? I know. I'm sorry to conflate, but I believe I also read last week that Guy Ritchie's Hercules is inspired by TikTok.
Oh, so maybe they're producing it. I didn't go
Okay.
that far into it because I was like, I'm so disinterested in the idea of everything.
Here's
Every
what I
word in this
think.
headline.
If you I don't know if anybody cares, but here's what I think they mean by that. It's about the same way that Spider-Man goes viral, and you see that in the world in Marvel. I think the same way Hercules, whatever that equivalent is in Greek mythology of going viral on a TikTok, is what you'll see Hercules
Oh,
do in the
yuck.
film, and he'll essentially go viral in the film with his crazy feats of strength. I think is what they're probably going
Ugh.
for, like consumer-based, like witnesses of of Hercules,
God, that
like a
sounds
legend.
good.
You like it?
Sounds
Well, see,
amazing.
here's what they're running up against, because this is what I'm learning with Nightmare on Elm Street, to bring it all back here,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
is
We're talking about that.
is guess what? If the Universal Monsters or Freddy Krueger didn't do it, it's not going to work for your franchise. They have to do it
Ooh.
first. That's
Mhm.
the rule. Now,
Okay.
So you want
Okay.
a Freddy inspired, a TikTok inspired Freddy movie?
I don't want it, but if he did it, then I knew Marvel could do it.
Okay.
Or I knew
Okay.
that Hercules
I'll
could
tell
do
you,
it.
I want Bride of Jason, and then I want the creature from Camp Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, Freddy walks so Marvel can run, or any other
Yeah.
Yeah.
franchise. You know, that's what we learned today.
Yeah.
That is what we learned today. And I
Among
feel
so many
good about
valuable
that.
lessons.
Yeah.
We learned a lot today. Actually, I learned a lot.
Yeah. Same.
I learned Jason Ritter was on Parks and Rec,
Mhm.
which was
Wait
really
a second.
interesting.
Wait a second.
What?
Dude, you want to make a $5 bet right now, Dan?
I'm kind of short $5 already, so no, thank you. This
Well-
Everclear is kicking my ass.
Yeah.
I think we did it. Do we have any final thoughts on Freddy versus Jason?
I love this movie.
He couldn't even finish. Here's my. Can I just
I
say
bailed on that premise immediately.
they should have took it to court. That's it in this film. They should have took it to court.
That's one of the drafts that was.
Oh,
Did you
right.
read about that?
Or they go to court and like it's an actual fucking trial.
What?
There was one of the drafts of the movie. Large portions of this movie was supposed to be Jason on trial, and the main character was going to be his defense attorney.
Ugh.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
our version. That's our version of the script. I'm gonna get
That's
that
like
book,
the
and I'm
that's
gonna-
like
I'm gonna report it all
the
back to
the
you.
primal fear version of Jason, Freddy v Jason. Very strange.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess the floor is yours. Plug away, my friends.
I want to plug Micah's new EP. It's called A Beautiful Divorce. It is pressed on vinyl. I'm waiting for my copy. God
Gonna be a
damn
while.
it. I haven't even listened to the album. I'm waiting for the vinyl. No, I have listened to the album. No, I think it's great. I was listening to your Q&A, and I was like, of course he cited Radiohead, bro. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
you're I'm just saying, like, I love Radiohead. If you're fans of Radiohead and like cool indie, like check out Micah. Check out his album.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
thank
kind of
you.
what I've been telling people is Radiohead. But
Yeah.
I'm telling people you ripped him off.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
He totally ripped off Kid A. You could tell. Like, let me
Yeah.
break it down for you track by track.
What about you, Jeremy? Come on.
Every week, you can listen to 90 Under 90 wherever you get your podcasts, and you can subscribe to our Patreon for our monthly 90 Over 90 for $1 a month, because we couldn't charge you 90 cents per month.
Or
I mean, I
what
could've
about
given it-
$90?
I mean, I could have given it for free, but like, no.
Yeah.
Why would we
Come
do
on.
that?
I can't
Dan needs
do that.
$5 now.
Yeah.
Help him out.
So at least 5 months worth of one patron's, you do the math. Like, I need $5 is what
But
it
there is a
boils down
processing
to.
fee, so let's give him 6 months. Then he can
Yeah.
pay you back.
Yeah. The 6 months is what we're asking, and then you can cancel us.
And then just
I
and then
hicked up.
never
Just,
you
just
never have to
cut us
listen.
loose. Cut us loose after that.
Bye,
you know?
guys. Done. Snip. You're
Just kidding.
Cutting the metaphorical cord.
Stick around. There's always fun stuff, you guys. I'm just kidding. Like, that joke is like one of the many you'll get on the feed. So, check it out.
Well, as far as we go, patreon.com. We'll have the links to both Patreons in our show notes, so you can just click it. And this month we're doing James Cameron's Avatar, and that means next month we'll be doing Avatar: The Way of Water. So if you wanna get in on the Avatar train before like 3 years from now, when we release the Vault episodes to the public of
Wait a
those two
second.
Avatar,
Avatar died by way of water. Freddy by
Freddy
Fire.
by Fire.
How do we use
How do
that?
And on that note, unless you
anyone
have something,
listening?
Jordan.
I just want to throw you under the bus for a second.
Oh,
Do you see what you did there on the iPad?
what did I do?
What you put the iPad on? You put the iPad on my art.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
Don't put iPads on people's work in progress.
I'm really sorry. I think I was
No,
just
it
they were
truly is
already
okay.
logged in, and I was like,
I
oh.
saw it like 2 minutes in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what has he done?"
I tried not to do that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Bye, everybody.
1, 2, a spooky podcast for you. 3, 4, lots of blood and gore. 5, 6, Freddy's goofy tricks. 7, 8, another deadly fate. 9, 10, never podcast again.
I don't want to digress too much, but you know how like Daniel Craig has the monologue in Knives Out and he says the title,
Mhm.
Knives
Oh, yeah.
Out, beaks bloody. So at home in the morning when we're having coffee, I'm going, some kind of glass onion is going on here.
I hope that he does say it at some point.
Y'all are the sorriest
That-
glass onions I say I've ever seen.
And what could they possibly do for a sequel? You know, Knives Out, Glass Onion.
I think sky's the limit if you name it Glass Onion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep, that's the title. Sky's the limit. Or I was thinking like Platinum Hamburger. I don't know.
That's good. That's good.
Don't
Yeah.
you just? That's a movie that's just. I hear that title and I'm like, I gotta go see it.
Yeah.
Platinum
Mhm.
Hamburger.
Mhm.
Does not draw me in the least.
Hmm.